What's going on, HomeLab peeps? Today's video, we're going to be talking about user groups and creating a virtual workstation on our HomeLab domain that we created yesterday. The reason why we're going to be doing that is because we want to do user training and user testing, and the best way to do that is to have user groups so we're not using our privileged elevated accounts, and we want to see how that's going to affect our domain, so let's get into it. So because the audio file did not come out the way I wanted it to come out, we're going to do a voiceover on this one just to make some decent content. So we're going to start by adding this Windows 11 ISO file to our Proxmox host. We're going to be building a lot of different workstations and Linux machines on this host. So for our convenience, this is why we're just going to store this here, and that way we can replicate this over and over and over. Once you have that loaded onto our server, we're going to create our workstation. I personally like doing this. This is my favorite part of the setup because, you just get to customize your machine. So we're going to name this Windows 11 computer, because I didn't really come with any fancy names. And of course, it's still on the HomeLab node, and you don't really have to change that. It's just because of how we have it already set up. Next, we're going to go and we're going to change the workstation type to Windows, and then leave the version alone and add the new ISO image we just saved. See why I said we needed to save it there for convenience? That was the purpose of that. Next, we are going to go into the Systems tab. We're going to change both the TPM and the EFI storage to local. After that, we're going to move on to the Disk tab, where we're going to keep everything the same here. Obviously, we're going to have 32 gigs of storage on here. Next, we're in the CPU. We're going to give this 2 cores. I just figured I'd give it 2 cores. Then in our memory tab, I added 2 gigs of RAM, which was a mistake because to have a Windows machine, you need to have 4 gigs of RAM. So I fixed that later. I kept everything the same here on the networking tab. And then we're going to set this up, confirm it. And once that's confirmed, we're going to go over to start the machine and let this thing boot up, because it's going to be a long waiting process from this point on. You'll let Proxmox do its thing, and then we'll be back. Now we're switching gears to log into the domain controller so we can create a user account and an administrator account. This is going to help us segment things so we're not always using that admin credentials. So first, we're going to create the user account. That's going to make things a little bit easier, and I just always like to start with the user. It's pretty simple. So first, you're going to go right click on the users, create, new, and then scroll all the way down to users. We're going to put in my first name, for example, is what I'm going to use for this demo today. My first name, my middle initial, and then my last name. And then we're going to give it a login name, which I just chose ML Polyfe here. We're going to click next. Next, we're going to give this a password. I gave it just a new password off the top of my head I can think of. While we're doing this, I'm going to unclick the change password upon next login. We're going to press next, then we're going to press finish. I like things to be neat, so I'm going to create a new OU group for this next phase. This OU group is going to be for our domain admins. So we're going to give it a name here, and I'm going to call it domain admins. And this is going to be our elevated account. We'll probably never log into this account, but when we want to elevate our privileges, this is what we're going to be using. So now we're going to click new. We're going to go in, we're going to make a new user account. We're going to almost do the same thing here. So first name, Michael. Opalafe, I didn't put the initial this time. And this time you're going to give it an admin login name. So I went, for example, I did AMEO, I believe, for, admin Michael Opalafe. Click next. You're going to give this a new password. I don't ever use the same one, obviously for security reasons. And then for convenient purposes, we're going to password never expire. I would never do this in real life. I would probably use CyberArk or anything for admin accounts just to make things easier. So now let's press finish, and then we're going to go back in. We're going to go to the domain admin security group, and we're going to add that account in there, the AMEO. We're going to press check for names, press OK, press apply, and now that account is now a part of the domain admins group, and now we can use that to elevate our privileges, and that should be good. So now, switching gears, we're going to go log right back into our Windows 11 machine. And we're going to use the local account that we created for this machine. That way, we haven't added this to the domain yet. So that's what we're going to be doing now. Windows is going to start its initial setup. And for this phase, I'm probably going to skip all of this because it's going to take too long, especially when we only have 4 gigs of RAM. So we'll be back. Now we're logged into our Windows 11 VM. We're going to let everything load up and get situated. First, we're going to go into the File Explorer and go into our Network Sharing Center. There, we're going to be able to change our IP address. That way, we're using our internal network that we set up already. We're going to right-click, press Properties, and while this is opening up, we're going to go search for CMD because I like to make sure that I can ping off of the network. And I usually use my home computer that is running Proxmox on it so I can test to make sure that we are able to see each other. So now you're going to watch me do the ping command, and then I'm going to pick my computer address, which is 192.168.86.160. And you'll see that we're going to get a response. There it is. So we're getting some replies there. So now that we know that we are able to see each other on the network, now I'm going to give this a static IP. And I think for this one, I'm going to give it a new subnet of 192.168.86.150. So all of the 150 is going to be for any VMs that I'm going to make that's going to be Windows. And then I'll probably do 170 or 180 for the Linux machines. So here, you're going to see me type that in, 192.168.86.150. Then subnet mask is automatically going to populate. The default gateway is our firewall that we already set up, which is the pfSense firewall. I'm over here looking for the IP address because I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Now, this is where I made a mistake. So DNS is always king. I learned that at my first job. And I sent the DNS server to the wrong server. This needs to be connected to the domain. I sent it to my ad blocker. So when I was trying to join this to the domain, it did not work. And that caused some issues. But I later on went back and fixed it. So now that we're finished setting up our network component, we're going to have to now try to join it to the domain. So here you're going to see me go back into my properties under my computer. We're going to type in our domain name, which is homelab.lab. We're going to use that elevated account that you saw us create in the beginning, which is the AMEO. And then we're going to have to type in our password. Once we type in the password, it's going to prompt us to restart the PC, which then means we are joined to the domain. So here we're going to restart right now. Here we go. Now let that restart, reboot, refresh. Proxmox is going to do its thing. Sometimes it's a little bit slower because of the RAM, but that's why we use our elevated privilege. That way we're not always using that generic administrator account because you don't really want people to understand or know what that password is or what the name of that account is. I sometimes lock that account. That way nobody else can randomly log into it. It's a security issue. Okay, Proxmox is loading up, booting up. Now we should be able to log in using that user account we created, which is the Mo Polyfe. And you'll see me do that right here. We have to change because the Michael Polyfe is just the local user account. So as you can see, sign in HomeLab, which is the domain name. We're signing in. Windows is going to have to do that same reboot process and loading and starting up all its plugins. Now that we're logged in, we're going to go and make sure that we are on the domain. And the way I always check that is I try to make a change to something on the PC. So either you change the name, you try to change the IP address. You see it has the MEO Polyfe, which is what we set up for the user account. So now we're going to go into my properties. We're going to go to see if we can change the name of this machine, and it'll prompt us to elevate our privileges. And that's how we know we're on the domain. Thank you all for watching, and please like and subscribe to this video.